Hey folks, welcome back to another battle report. This time we're trying the Sacred Mole of a Kurt, and I basically have to get a marker off from one table corner to the other table corner. As you see on this little map here, up in the top corner there's two rocks, which is kind of like the cave entrance from which my lizardmen are kind of be coming from. We've got a few more different items, which is just trying out different things. So I am trying a War Beast and some Bellicose Foot, but we'll just have a quick look at the lists as we see what the setup is. So scrunched up in my corner is my leader, who's on a war beast at the back. I do give him the spores, which costs a little bit more, gets rid of his wild charge and gives him a range 12, but I actually never shoot him, and I also give him the wild charge as well. Later on I forget that it gets rid of it, but other than that he's my leader, and I have my 3 or 4 wound effectively ogres. They are my Bellicose Foot. They've also got the fast trait. My skinks, this time I thought I'd try giving them a different setup. I gave them some javelins, and I think that was it. Didn't really pay off. I think actually giving them offensive makes more sense for the javelins instead of being like the standstill kind of shooty style force that they were used as I try to use them here, but with a short range of the javelins, and obviously taking up only one action a turn, you're never really in position to seem to move and hit something with them because they don't have the skirmish ability. I've also got another unit of these guys. They didn't fit in this corner. I've only got 12 inches from that corner, and I have to keep 3 inches away from all the friendly units, so they don't fit in. So I've got another unit of Skinks off and my little unit of Ravenous as a cheap infill. So this is before setup, so everything could be moved around in a second, but he was quite impressed, my opponent was quite impressed with my scouts being able to move and shoot last game. So his horse this time is going to be the light horse with the shooting option, which gives them the scout ability so they can move and shoot. His 3 horse there is going to be elite horse. That's going to be his leader, obviously a reduced model unit, so it's champions and that. And then he's got another light foot, yeah, I think it was light foot, light missile unit for his archers. He has another unit of shooty light horse and his Bellicose Foot, which also had fast given to it. So set up the same as mine really. So this is my guys set up in the corner here. As you can see, I've got a long track to go. I've got to get across to the opposite corner to escape. And I think you can also see my opponent there, how he set up. It's pretty much opposite to how you saw them just a minute ago. My opponent also found it a bit of a squeeze to try and get that 12-inch bubble and keep the 3 inches apart. As you can see, this is them slowly moving up now. At the top of the board there, his Bellicose Foot and his light cavalry start moving around the woods, heading towards me, and down the bottom here, his army is just being led by his light missile troops. And I think I am the attacker in this one. I think I actually got first turn but didn't get to move anything. I managed to fail twice on rolling I think it was a 5 or maybe even a 4, because at the moment we're still using the wrong rules for the leader, giving him the +1 bonus to everything, which should only be courage. This is the last game we do this in. But yeah, even with that, my guys didn't get out, and I finally got them out this turn but didn't bring any of my reserves on from my edge. My opponent keeps the pressure up and just heading towards me, trying to cut me off. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for me to get through, but I'm hopefully going to hit one flank and be able to push through that way. My troops are relatively quick. I mean, I have the fast Bellicose, War Beast and light infantry, so I should be able to move alright. His Bellicose Foot at the top edge there, unfortunately, didn't actually move. They stayed there for a little while. Bellicose Foot arguing whether they want to go forwards or not, or too drunk. It was hard to tell, really. And still I'm struggling to get out of my corner here. I'm trying to move the front troops up first, obviously to give that 3-inch breaker in between the different units. But I got my Bellicose Foot up, you know, my Croxagores and my light foot, which are my skinks, and I failed again. I'm not sure if I went for my leader or I tried to bring on a unit. You can just see off the table there I've got my skinks and my ravenous horde, but nothing to my much avail here. I'm moving quite slowly. My opponent, on the other hand, is with relative ease moving everything in his army, bar from his Bellicose Foot. As you can see, his light horse with bows are coming up to start shooting at my foot and slowing them down. And I'm finally out of the corner, which is fantastic. The only downside is I still don't have any of my other troops on the board yet. Keep failing with them. Unfortunately, no re-rolls of them, because obviously they're going to be outside of my leader's re-roll ability. And my opponent moves up. As you can see here, this is a pre-measure game, so you can measure at any time that you like. So his light horse have just moved up to be within 12, so able to shoot at me, but outside of 10, which is my a charge range. And then at the top there, I think the bellicose foot actually started moving again, so that was good for them. Finally, my reserves come on, and I've got some extra troops to play around with. And here you can just see I'm just trying to swing left. I'm going to try and punch through the light horse and break my way through that way. Hopefully his bellicose foot stay on the other side of the board. In this one, I believe I think my opponent got the charge off on this. Actually went into charge because actually the light horse is pretty beefy, to be honest. I think their armor 3, so they're pretty solid, and they go in and take on my bellicose foot. Bellicose foot on the defensive only hit on 6s, so it's pretty much better to charge than them charging you where they hit on 3s. And unfortunately I do break off. I do lose the combat there. I do take a couple of wounds. My opponent took 1 wound, which I was quite impressed though. I managed to get 3 6s through with the 12 dice. Unfortunately I think these guys, my ogres, Croxicles become battered and have to stand there like Muppets for the turn, which is a bit of a shame because they're now going to get shot at. And as you see, this is where I moved up elsewise, getting all my rest of my troops just to try and break this corner. It's going to be a bit more of a challenge now with this elite foot here. That is going to hurt. And he is plinking away at my little light infantry unit in the middle there with his archers, while his other light cavalry are having shot at my other light infantry. But I'm not too bothered about that. My main idea is to get this Stegodon with that box he's carrying off the board. And as you see from this shot here, yeah, he did shoot at my Croxicles. Unfortunately, I was a bit rough with my die roll. That rolling, watching them just vanish from the board is somewhat upsetting, that's for sure. I think he did a couple of casualties, so I was on 4 wounds, which means I get -4 to a 2d6 roll. And if I roll 0 or less, they are removed. If I roll equal or higher than their courage, then they're okay. If it's lower than their courage but higher than 0, they become battered and have to retreat. And unfortunately on this one I rolled a 4, giving it a result of 0, which means they are removed. And over here my guys are being shot at by his arrows. Yeah, armor 2 does hurt. They seem to go down quite quick. It does seem to make a huge difference compared to that armor 3. So he then charges his champions into my skinks, and of course they doesn't go too well for the skinks here. His 12 attacks hitting on 3s, though to be honest, foot is generally defensive, so I'm hitting on 4s when I'm charged. When I charge I'm hitting on 5s, so I think I do manage to get a wound through even with his armor of 4. And as you can see, yep, I did take, I got battered after that fight, and I did manage to put a wound onto his champions, which makes me feel a little bit better. I'm actually tempted now to charge in with my war beast to see what he can do. And the answer was a lot. I said how bad it felt when I managed to fail my courage check and lost my bellicose foot, but my opponent actually rolled, I think, like a 2 or a 3 on his die roll, which meant that his champions actually fled and are removed from the board, and that was his leader, which instantly causes a courage check on all his units. And I think, as you see there is a red marker on the cavalry to the top there. I think that was the only one that became battered from receiving the courage check, so everyone else was fine. So the one thing that did help me with this fight is my opponent does have countercharge with his cavalry, and he failed his countercharge check, and that was brilliant because that meant I can go in with hitting him on 3s, and I think he might have been a 5. So yeah, he was struggling to get some movement through. He did manage to get, I think, 2 on me, but I did enough to smash him, and he broke, and thankfully I wasn't battered, which means I can maneuver again in my next turn. So the next couple of turns my opponent's trying to get some shots onto my war beast with not much luck, and I'm just trying to push my war beast through. I think this round I might have actually had to charge because I was playing with the wild charge. My opponent, I think, evaded just out of charge range. He gets some free shooting as well, but nothing occurred of it, thankfully, so far. I do like he actually shot in his turn, and in my turn I charged him, and he failed his evade roll. Again, a 7-up required to evade, which means I smashed into him with my war beast, which was absolutely fantastic. Quickly annihilated those horse, and I think they did survive but retreated off the battlefield, which now leaves my war beast free to start running along the edge of the board there to try and get off the table. And this is how we're looking at the moment. Both my infantry become unbattered, and my No, I fib. My other infantry actually ended up scattering. I am down to one unit of Lightfoot, and in the middle there, his light horse, also unbattered, rallied. Sorry, and so they're active with them now. So light horse got a chance to run around the back and try and cut me off. So my Lightfoot are doing their job that they're supposed to be doing. They're jumping up and down, crying "shoot me," and the archers are obliging by shooting them, not my war beast. So here's a chance to escape. I'll take a few more casualties, but you can also see in the background there the light horse is starting to manoeuvre around the other side to get at my war beast. My poor skinks did get battered, but other than that, my leader is still pushing to get to the edge of the board, and on the top of the board there the bellicose foot are refusing to move still, probably too drunk from the night before and not getting to any fights. We are both just running for the corner of the board to try and cut each other off. Unfortunately, I cannot squeeze through the edge of the board and the scenery piece, so while I'm going through the terrain, that is going to halve my movement, so my opponent definitely has a chance to get ahead of me there. I'm just running away with the skinks the best I can, putting them behind the hill. They can now hide. The foot archers are out of place to start shooting my warbeast, and my warbeast runs through the woods the best he can. At the top of the board, his bellicose foot get into action, and my ravenous horde there is just to slow him, tempt him in for a wild charge to bring him away from the rest of the battle. The temptation was too great for these drunken dwarves, and they went in against my ravenous horde, which is perfect for me because I actually brought them well away from where the fighting is really occurring, and they come into my ravenous horde. I don't expect much here. My ravenous horde are hitting on 6s. My opponent with his charge and bellicose foot are hitting on 3s. I think he's armor 2, I'm armor 1, so some casualties will occur. And oh yes, my ravenous horde were absolutely disintegrated. Armor 1 is pretty terrifying, to be honest. You don't get much done with that. Don't block a damn thing. So they just came in and blitzed them. And I don't think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I actually did 2 wounds on him, which makes me feel pretty good about myself. And now this is where I realise I am through the terrain and I'm nearly to my corner of the board, and my opponent brings in his cavalry, and I forget about the fact I don't have a wild charge. So I'm actually going to be drawn out towards him as he closes in. He just does try to shoot at me a couple of times, but with armor 4 he is struggling to put any damage onto me, which is fine with me. I'd rather be in combat if I can get a charge off, which is exactly what I do, because I don't mind. If I found my wild charge, I should be able to blitz these guys and turn around and keep moving before the archers come in and start peppering me. But my opponent does actually stand, and then in his turn comes back in with his 3 remaining horse, and I was like, yep, I'm good with this. I'm only hitting on, well, it actually might be 6s. I think they're a bit like bellicose foot. These guys are only good on the charge, so it paid for him to go in, and I just needed to get 1 or 2 damage through. It would have been great, and I managed to get it. Yeah, I managed to disintegrate those guys, turn around and then make my way off before any of the other chaps could catch me. So it was a win for the lizardmen. A bit of a tight game. Things just go quickly one way or the other with those morale rolls. So I managed to steal another win there with the lizardmen. I just managed to get through there. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who responded in my last video. It's been really nice to see a lot of familiar faces from a year ago when I was trying to get back into it. At the moment I am low on space for doing it. I think I said before, I live in a tin can, and there's a limited space on what I can do stuff, and I'm actually trying to get hold of an area so I can do more things and set up a little workshop, but that's a project for another day. I have a undead battle report coming up next for Dragon Rampant. I thought I'd give the Skelly Bobs a go and see what the undead rules like, because I know some games they can be a little bit clunky, so it'll be good to see how they are used in this game system. And finally, I've also got a project-based series of videos coming up, if that does interest anyone. Basically, I'm going to go into a war game show next year, and I'm going to be putting on a show game. I've been to it for the last couple of years doing Void and that. I haven't really had a chance to put any videos up for that, but this time I'm going to do a little themed one based on an IP that I enjoy, but there'll be more on that later with a few teasers. It's actually going to be 15 mil fantasy, so I have to see what occurs from that. Alright guys, I shall see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Farewellis.